Let me start by introducing myself quickly. So, my name is Hannah. I am one of our recruitment and admissions managers for the full-time MBA at RSM. I specifically work with our candidates based in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And my colleagues, who I will give you the contact details for later, work with our students from the other parts of the world. And I'm very happy and grateful to be joined by my colleague Ian today. Ian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're calling in from. I'm Ian Loumous. I'm the Associate Director for the Full-time MBA program here at RSM. Yeah, very excited to be here today and share a little bit more with you with regards to what the student experience kind of looks and feels like.
Thanks so much, Ian. To quickly run through our agenda, we're going to be touching on a few points, letting you know about the city of Rotterdam and the people that will be next to you in your MBA cohort. We are going to touch briefly on the curriculum, although that is not the focus of today's session. Then we'll spend most of it going into the student life before wrapping up with details on the application process, how you can get ready for our admissions, and of course, we'll touch on the important part of financing your MBA. We do have time for questions at the end. We'll leave the last 10 minutes, but like I said, you're also welcome to use the question function and the chat box as well. So, Rotterdam. Rotterdam is the second largest city in the Netherlands, and we're very proud to call it home for our MBA program. If you're not familiar with Rotterdam, it is one of Europe's largest business hubs. It actually has the largest port in Europe, so there is a lot going on here in terms of international companies, shipping and logistics, the global trade routes, all of that stuff is in the city. It is a really diverse city, and that diversity is also reflected in our cohort, which I'll touch upon in a moment. But Rotterdam is home to more than 170 nationalities. There are lots of different cultural events like film festivals, as well as restaurants, activities, and ways for you to connect with the international community. Finally, Rotterdam is home to a number of accelerators and venture capital networks. So it is a hub for business, both in the traditional corporate sense as well as the more up and coming startup scale up space. And this is what your MBA could look like. So on the screen, we have the class profile for our current cohort. Typically, we have around 100 to 120 students each year, and these students are really diverse, not just in terms of where they came from, the 28 different nationalities, but also in terms of the lived experiences and the career and academic backgrounds that they're bringing to the program. So when we're recruiting students, we're really looking for people who have something unique to share about their background or, like I said, their career and what they can contribute to our global community. If you're wondering what is the typical MBA student like, our average age is currently 31, but it's definitely a range from late 20s up into even early 40s. Around 8 years of work experience is pretty typical. We do require at least 3 years of work experience. So again, there is a range there. And the nationalities where people are living change, of course, from year to year. I'm going to hand it over to Ian to briefly run through the curriculum and kind of the what will you be learning inside the classroom during the MBA.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Hannah. So yeah, as you can see already, a little bit what's nice, also it's reflected in the audience that we have here today with us, is that we really try to foster a very diverse student experience. And we try to attract also talent from around the world, right? And that's something that RSM is quite well known for. It's also what is well known by a lot of our employers that we work with, for instance, that they come to RSM for a global perspective. So outside of that, let's get into the curriculum. As it currently stands, it's an academic calendar year. So that is kind of the time in which this visual in front of you is programmed. In the first month, so in, let's say, January all the way through until June, you have your core curriculum that you can come to expect at any MBA program, right? So the first couple of weeks, it's more of an introductory period where we allow you to orient, settle in. There's a lot going on. You're both inside the program, but also outside of the program. A lot of our students are just settling, finding housing, getting to know each other, making sure all their immigration details are sorted. So this is kind of that period of time that we orient our students within the program itself. We also do a lot of skill building workshops and try to operationalize a little bit of, why we by design bring so much diversity into the program itself. So we have a few skill building workshops. Also, we do a lot of intercultural learning and competency building, which then lends itself to your leadership development as you kind of move through the MBA experience. Once you move into module one, so module one, two, and three, those are really where you can see the core foundational curriculum pillars of what you would come to expect at an MBA program. So you have both analytics, organizational behavior, sustainability, supply chain. As you move through, then you go into accounting, corporate finance, strategic management, more an economic environment within the business landscape. And then once you get through the core curriculum, then you move into something that's very exciting, which is more of our experiential learning components. So we have a capstone project known as the Living Management Project. And that is a 4-week consultancy that you work in teams with businesses that come to RSM on a business case that they're learning to tackle. So we have companies all the way from Unilever, Google that we work with to also small startups and scale-ups that are interested in understanding how to access a certain market, or they have various business challenges. They want a portfolio analysis. They want to streamline certain business operations, and they work with the talent that we have in the MBA program to deliver those outcomes. So it's a really great opportunity for many of our students to get really a real access point to understanding what are the current challenges that businesses here within the Netherlands and also the Benelux region are tackling within that framework. So that's really some of the experiential components. After you deliver your final project of the Living Management Project with these companies, then you move into a component that we call now Summer School. Essentially, that is a high-level skill building workshop. We also open up this portfolio with our external open and customized program. So we also have a lot of our companies that we work with that are pursuing executive education opportunities to work with our students and navigate together this component of learning, which is focused on 4 different pillars. One is AI, one is sustainability, another one is also digital transformation. So those are aspects that we work on and program into the summer school. It's a very short period of time. It's about 10 days in total. And then you have a holiday break. So we offer the month of August, essentially the first 3 weeks to be your summer break, if you will. Then you move forward with another experiential component, which is a study trip. Currently, we're working with 7 different destinations around the world, all have a various theme and a focus that we tackle. That then allows you to immerse yourself in a local environment, tackle a business challenge, and then deliver a presentation with a group at the very end of the week. It's very intensive. So there are full days packed within that week, but it's really one of the highlights for many of our MBA students. Then once you move into module 5, you move into then your more specialization in terms of what sort of course or what kind of background you want to specialize in. So we have 5 different advanced course tracks. And we also move into then the elective portfolio. So currently we offer about 30 different elective options. And so then you can really start customizing your learning journey in that segment of the curriculum. Another thing that's very important to note, which I didn't throughout the modules, you'll see at the very bottom throughout the year, there are some courses that will remain as consistent throughout the entire experience here at the MBA program. One of which is known as the Craft of Managing for Positive Change. And that course is actually developed and led by the academic director of the full-time program, Joachim Kruse. And that really focuses on the sort of impact you want to make on a more high level, macro level within the program, right? So that's more visualizing and projecting, okay, you want to be a change maker, you want to make impact, how do you actually go about doing that? And what are some of the cases that you can work with? And it gives you a lot of exposure to the market as well. So it's a very exciting kind of interactive, immersive course that is thread throughout the entire duration of your program. Similarly, there's also your personal leadership development course. A lot of this is to hone in and refine your ability to self-reflect. I'm not sure if anyone has seen some of the social media campaigns. I've been featured quite a lot focusing on leadership coaching. PLD and leadership coaching go hand in hand, right? So this is a big aspect of learning about what sort of leadership skills you have, how to refine that, what kind of leader you want to be, and also working within diverse teams and the complexity that that brings and how you navigate through that. So it's not just marrying a lot of the core foundational skills that you would come to expect, but also what are the soft, complex skills that will actually strategically position you as an effective leader as you kind of move forward post the MBA experience. And then lastly, what's very important is that we have a very vibrant careers team and a career center. And so they are with you throughout the entire journey of your MBA experience and also post the MBA experience as you start moving into the market, the labor market to then convert, of course, into employment.
Thanks, Ian. And we had a quick question on the living management project. How are students put into teams and assigned to their clients?
Yes, that's a really good question. So it's very much randomized, and the reason we do that by design is that we know, for instance, that if we have companies that we work with that are more big names, like Google, like Unilever, that most of the students are then very eager to work with these companies because they think, okay, that's a great resume builder, but don't necessarily see the opportunities in working with a more mid to smaller scale company that actually, in our experience, gives a lot more access to their company and to their business strategy than the larger companies that are doing this more as a separate unit. So there's no let's say strategic way of placing students based on their profiles. What we do though is we try to group you in teams where you have a variety of skill sets represented so that you can deliver a product that the companies that we work with are of course satisfied with.
Thanks for that. Let's talk more about the careers and what that
Yeah,
looks like
so
after.
sure. So this is our current career report. This is all accessible as well on our website. But just to give you a bit of a glimpse of what the kind of experience is for our students post doing the MBA here at RSM. 84% of our students are actively employed 3 months post graduation. So that's a really great stat, and that's a good number to fall back on. Most of our students that come, if you saw the previous stat, we are 99% international, most of which come to the Netherlands to stay in the Netherlands. So they really like it and they see the opportunities of pursuing then their further career ambitions within the Netherlands or European market. We also have students that then come on also some sort of government scholarship or otherwise, and their intention is then to kind of take the knowledge and return home, right? To like kind of try to plug up some of the brain drain that innately happens with individuals leaving certain economies that could really use the talent and skill set that they gain from the education they receive here at RSM. So that's a bit of a snapshot of some of the kind of career trajectories. We also know that quite a lot of individuals change their industry, right? So they're coming to RSM because we don't just welcome students with a traditional business background, but a variety of different kind of sectors that our students have been working in prior to their entry into the MBA, many of which are looking to do a bit of a career shift. And so we really support that in many ways. Our Career Center also is very aware that this is a very strong profile that comes to RSM. So that's reflected also in the stats that you see here on this page.
Right. And another element of staying in the Netherlands, which, as you see, many of our graduates end up doing, as a graduate from a Dutch university in the MBA program, you are eligible for something called the orientation year visa or zoekjaar visa in Dutch. And this gives you full working rights for 12 months in the Netherlands. So that means for that 12-month period, you don't have to worry about sponsorship. A number of our graduates do go on directly to sponsored positions or right after the MBA, but this is a resource if you want to spend some more time looking for the right position for you, or if you'd like to spend more time in the Netherlands in general, the orientation year visa can be a really helpful tool in doing so. And let's dive into what this webinar is all about. What does the student experience really look like in the MBA?
Yeah. So I can talk a little bit about some of a lot of the students, and when they reflect on their experience at RSM, they talk really about the engagement they have with one another and the learning that they have from each other in the cohort. And that's really something special that I think sometimes is not necessarily readily called upon when you first arrive here in Rotterdam. So there's by design, you will always work in your MBA journey in teams, as also you'll have individual components, but also team components. The teams by design are extremely diverse. So that means, and I mean diversity in every aspect of the word, right? So that it's not just ethnically diverse, but also within what kind of sectors, backgrounds, skill sets are represented within the team. A lot of times up front, that seems very interesting and inspiring, and it is all those things. But in practice, when you add deadlines, time constraints, cultural differences that are not really clarified, it can create quite a lot of frustration. But that's also where the magic happens, right? That's where the relationship building happens. And we provide tools to say, okay, this is how you navigate through it when you have all these various time pressures and it's a high performance environment and you have to deliver something with a group of individuals that maybe share very different perspectives than what you are accustomed to, right? So it's kind of the idea of, and there's a lot of research behind this, that working with homogenous teams, while might be faster to form, the output is limited. Working with diverse teams, the storming phase, so the phase in which you kind of learn each other, understand how to navigate through the differences and the complexity of cultural differences that might be at play, it is a longer time frame, but the output is tremendous vis-a-vis what it would be if you were working in a team that all looked and felt exactly the same as you are, right? So that is something that we really look to operationalize. Now, within the student experience itself, we also offer various coaching touch points, right? So you also have leadership coaching, which is individual, and it works to help refine kind of your awareness of self and reflect. A lot of times we have students that are kind of upfront when they begin this process of leadership coaching. They kind of are like, how does this apply to an MBA? And the reflection of self seems sometimes a bit confrontational. And also because you have to do the work, you have to kind of be open to the process of saying, I'm here to also discover something about myself, right? And that's emotional work. And a lot of times upfront, that can be quite confrontational for a lot of our students. As they move through the program, they really start understanding the utility of it, because the more awareness you bring to yourself, the more your ability to be an effective leader, because also you're aware of how you interact with others and how others receive you, right? So you really learn how to hone in on those sort of dynamics as you navigate through. Peer action learning, so that's PAL coaching. That's also another act of kind of supporting your experience within the program. And so in your modules, every module, so there's 5 modules, you have different teams. For 2 of those modules, modules 1 and 2, you'll also be supported by coaching to work with those teams that you're in, right? So there might be dynamics that play out in the team. We do see this every year, that certain teams kind of struggle through the experience of learning how to work with one another. PAL coaching is exactly there to help support those teams talk through and work through the challenges they might be facing, right? So this is also some of those complex skill development components that will really serve you in your experience here in Rotterdam, and also just within the cohort itself, navigating that. Lastly, we also are now moving through a series of intercultural competency workshops. So right when you arrive, we do in the first 3 weeks, we do an intercultural competency kind of like initial workshop that kind of orients you within what is this framework? Why is it important? Why do we do it? How does it apply to your MBA program? We then offer 2 more components, one right before you move into your living management project, because we recognize many of you are coming from different cultural backgrounds, different working environments, and we want you to succeed within the Dutch landscape, right? So what does it mean in terms of what are the behaviors that employers here in the Netherlands, companies here in the Netherlands will expect from you, right? And we recognize that many of the cultures that we service here within the cohort are coming from more, let's say, hierarchical structures within the workplace, right? More top down, more indirect communication, and that can be a very confusing place. So we try to help kind of build a bridge of saying, like, in the Netherlands, it's a flat line. You challenge authority. It's very appropriate to have a conversation, even if you're a junior level, with someone very senior. And we kind of help you navigate that experience so that you're set up for success as you move into that component. Lastly, at the end of towards the end of the year in your elective cycle, we then plan a last intercultural competency workshop, and we do that in tandem with the careers team to help you really position yourself strategically for now entering the workplace, right? So entering the market, looking for jobs, how you interview, what kind of skills people are looking for, how you present yourself in this cultural context. So that's really the ethos behind why we do the intercultural competency workshops. A very important part of your experience is something that I'm very proud of here at RSM is the student association. So the student association, if you will, is kind of the elected, let's say, student representation that will basically program, support, and make the experience of your cohort what it is. They're there to really support the ambition and the talent that you guys have represented within the cohort itself. So currently, as it stands, the Student Association is composed of a board. That board is two co-presidents, a treasurer, and an external events officer, a marketing officer, and an alumni engagement officer. So these foundational roles then are essentially the Student Association board. Within that board structure, they also support all the clubs that the Student Association has. So I think we can move to the next slide where I think we showcase. So yeah, so within the club structure, currently in this cohort that is just taken off, so they just started in January, we have 13 clubs represented. So this is some of the clubs that are currently represented. This is also clubs that we've seen in prior years. A couple of the clubs to spotlight is that we have a very strong entrepreneurship club, a very strong finance club. Actually, the finance club is incredible. We have this year, they've already run 2 workshops, and we're only in March for helping other students in their cohort who don't come from a traditional finance background to kind of level up and skill up in terms of making sure that they're ready for what's ahead with corporate finance kind of looming in module 3. So it is very, very helpful, and it's really a great way of also bringing the diversity of skill sets in the cohort and operationalizing it. And really what the clubs try to do is they partner with the program teams, so the service departments, that's all the way from admissions, so what Hannah's doing, through to careers team, alumni team, marketing team, to realize some of their ambitions of launching events and bringing in guest speakers, bringing in talent, and offering skill building. All of this is executed with a budget that has been dedicated to the Student Association. The Student Association board then works in tandem with the clubs that are formed from the students to execute this budget. And it's a pretty sizable amount. So some of the activities that you can run, I mean, we have, it really runs the gamut. So it's really based on the ambition of what you are trying to accomplish. We have, for instance, this year, a club that's focused on just doing walks in nature and orienting yourself within the Netherlands and within kind of like the environmental space here. We also have, like I mentioned earlier, the finance club that's doing a lot more core, strong skill building with regards to understanding finance, being more financially literate, understanding how to also use the various technology around that. Last year, we had a crypto club that did a lot with crypto investing and also understanding blockchain platforms, how to trade. So it was very interesting. It really comes also with what your skill set is, what your background is, what your passion is, and something that you want to bring to the cohort, right? Something that you would like to impart in terms of knowledge, skill, experience, those kind of things. MBAT. MBAT is one of the highlights for the student experience. So you see here, they're all in orange because if you follow any sort of international competition, the Dutch color are always reflected in their very, very bright neon orange, right? It's blinding. There's also been like studies behind the power of the orange color, that it brings a lot of optimism. So there's been social psychologists that have actually followed Dutch fans. It's interesting. I encourage you to look it up actually. But MBAT is a 3-day sports competition that's hosted in Paris actually by HEC. And it brings all the top European business schools on campus for this major sporting event. So it's kind of like a mini MBA Olympics, if you will. And it's not just doing physical sports. They also have esports. They have things like a sort of mahjong. It was kind of one of the categories that you can enroll in. They also do various competitions like a fashion show, dance competition, battle of the bands, these kind of things. It's an amazing opportunity for you to bond as a cohort. I can tell you firsthand, because I went last year with the cohort to Paris to support them in their MBAT experience. One, they won Best Delegation, which we were very proud of. but also really sports and being in a competitive environment vis-a-vis all these other European schools helps form your identity as a cohort, and it really builds culture. And so this event single-handedly, what I saw in terms of the relationship, the dynamic, the culture of the cohort prior to MBAT and post MBAT, this takes place in May, by the way, just in terms of timeline, is incredible. It's a really an amazing experience, and it gives you also a bit of a break from the ins and outs of daily class, delivering exams, final assignments, final projects, presentations, these things, and just gives you an opportunity to go and have some fun. And also being in a city like Paris is not so shabby. Okay, so one of the last initiatives I wanted to talk about, which we're really proud of, is Mass Impact Ventures. So this is a student club that was started last year. And this, I remember the first introductory meeting I had with the co-presidents of Mass Impact Ventures. They had basically said, we want to create a student fund that's based on impact investing for the RSM MBA community. And it's very interesting because within the Netherlands and within the Dutch business landscape, impact investing, there's a huge market share of impact investing that happens within the Netherlands vis-a-vis, let's say, other countries if we compare it. So every year, the MBA cohort, the RSM MBA cohort, is responsible for running a case competition. And the last 3 years, so it used to be private equity. That was the focus of the case competition. And as of the last 3 years, to mirror also our mission, which is a force to be positive, force for positive change, excuse me, we moved towards impact investing. And so the case competition focused around impact investing initiatives, and the case was then developed with companies that indeed are doing impact investing and creating a live case that then the schools that, again, coming from top European schools around Europe, would then compete here in Rotterdam and then also receive a reward. What was different this time is that Mass Impact Ventures had also created a summit, which was incredible. And it really focused about bringing a bit of the ecosystem to Rotterdam and also to campus so that people can familiarize themselves with what startups are doing. They had a pitch competition as well with various startup scale-ups that are looking to do impact investing. It kind of was like a Shark Tank setup where they had a panel of judges, and then individuals would come and pitch their idea that focuses on impact investing. But in short, they have their LinkedIn page, Mass Impact Ventures. This is their second year in operation. They're working very strategically now with our current cohort. But in short, they're a student-led advisory initiative, cultivating the next generation of impact investors and entrepreneurs. And so really their vision is to build a thriving ecosystem for impact investing at RSM, and to support bold entrepreneurship and fostering lasting measurable change. So super ambitious, very committed. Their governance is also incredible. They have 9 co-presidential roles within their kind of ranks, and they have filled those roles with our current cohort. So this is really a partnership, and any of you that are interested in coming in RSM, this is really a part of the fabric and part of the legacy that we're trying to build now at RSM, to really kind of put a stamp on, again, really serving our mission to be a force for positive change.
Awesome, Ian. Thank you so much for that. All right, moving on to the admissions side of things. Ian has talked about a lot of the amazing aspects of the program and the student life. How can you actually end up as a student at RSM? And again, I'll just pop a quick reminder here for the Q&A box. If you have any questions about what Ian has mentioned, if you want to hear more about any of the student clubs or activities, or what other things the cohort won at the MBAT, please drop those in. We'd be really happy to answer those. But for now, indeed, let's take some time to focus on the admission side of things. So first of all, what do you need to be eligible for our MBA program? At the very basics, you'll need an undergraduate degree. So that is a bachelor's degree in just about any academic area. We're not asking you to have a business degree. We've had students come in with arts or physical, fitness, sports medicine. It's a really wide variety of degrees that make the cohort so special. For that, we will ask for your diploma, so an official copy from your university, as well as the transcript. In terms of language, if your program was taught in English, we're very happy to have that English. If it's been taught in a different language, we will ask you for the original language as well as a translation. Another must for the program is at least 3 years of postgraduate professional experience. So this means experience that you have after your bachelor's degree. In certain cases, we can sometimes count internships if they were full-time, or traineeships, or something that maybe happened during or before your studies, but the pretty hard and fast rule is 3 years of postgraduate professional experience. We're also looking for your ability to contribute in a multicultural setting. Ian touched upon all of the different intercultural competency workshops, but I think you all have the sense that interacting with people from different backgrounds is a cornerstone of the program. And so while we're not asking you to have maybe lived or studied abroad before, we do want to know that you have an interest in learning from people who are different from you, and maybe some experience in that. Maybe it's diversity within your country or within your team or within your industry. We also will usually ask for an English language proficiency exam. I see there have been some questions about that, so let me go through that really quickly. Most of our students will need an English proficiency exam to apply for the MBA. We accept the main ones of TOEFL and IELTS, as well as a few others, Cambridge, and you can check the full list on our website. This requirement applies if you have done your studies in English, unless you are from the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, or you have done your education there. I know that this is actually a new requirement. This is the first full year that we're mandating it. It is a requirement for the university as sponsors of student visas to make sure that all MBA students and students in all other degree programs have the English skills necessary to thrive in a Dutch setting. So again, we can always discuss on a case-by-case basis, but pretty much you are going to need an English proficiency exam for the MBA admissions process. Going into more of the application materials, we covered what you need to apply, what the strict requirements are. You're also going to prepare an online application as your starting point. So on the right of my screen, you have a screenshot from our application platform, Embark, and that is going to be your help for all of your application materials. Nice thing about Embark is that you can start your application and come back to it at any time. So there is no need to get all of your documents and your paperwork and your references and your essay done in one sitting. I'd actually advise you to open up an application quite early on and then revisit it. That way you'll get updates about deadline extensions and any other changes that are made to the application process. So what you'll need one prepared essay. We ask for a 500-word essay on RSM's mission of being a force for positive change. So we want to hear how you have been a force for positive change already in your life, in your career, as well as how you plan to do so during the MBA, maybe in some of the awesome student association or club activities Ian discussed, as well as after the MBA. How can you go into the world with your MBA degree and make some sort of positive impact? I always tell our applicants that being a force for positive change doesn't necessarily mean you have to do something with sustainability or impact. Being a force for positive change can be as simple as trying to make your work culture better, or streamlining a process, or trying to improve your team culture. Anything like that we'd really like to hear about. You will also need to do kind of the paperwork. Like I said, we'll need your transcript and your diploma. We'll also need a copy of your CV and your passport, just for completeness sake. We do ask for 2 professional references. So these should be people that you have worked with, not academic references. They do not need to write a letter. They will receive a form in their email. And we always advise our applicants to choose someone that knows you the best. We'd rather have a really personalized recommendation from someone that you've worked directly with on the same level than a vague kind of general one from the CEO of your company. On the testing side of things, we do accept the GMAT and GRE for standardized tests. But we also offer our own test called the BAT, which I will touch upon in just a moment. And finally, our new application material for this year is our optional scholarship essay, which would go under additional documents in Embark. And I will go through what that scholarship essay entails in just a moment when I talk about the finance side of the MBA. So the BAT, it's our business admissions test. This is our standardized exam created by RSM in order to measure the competencies that our students will need to thrive during the MBA program. It is taken online, and it's good for you to know that first you finalize and submit your online application, the references, the essay, all of that. We will take a first look and review it, and then you will be invited for next steps. Those next steps consist of your admissions interview, which is an online conversation with an alumni or another admissions manager. It will be the Kira video assessment, so that is an opportunity for you to record yourself answering some video questions. And then finally, if you are not doing the GMAT or GRE, this BAT. So 2-hour online test. It's going to measure a lot of the same things as your GMAT or your GRE, but everything is coming from a business context. So instead of the GMAT where you're getting solved for X, the BAT, you might get a question like company Y has made X amount of euros in profit for this year, analyze some aspect of their business activities. You are welcome to reach out to your admissions manager, which I will share our contact details for a sample exam. And this, for the first time this year, this exam is now open to applicants from any academic or career background. Application deadlines. We have 6 rounds throughout the year. Our first deadline has passed with the 10th of February, and we already have some fantastic candidates that have been offered or registered for the program. Our next one is April 14th, so that still gives you more than a month to get your everything ready for the application. Good for you to know is that these dates are for only the online application. So like I said, all of the Embark things, you do not need to complete your BAT or your interview or your Kira by these deadlines. A common question we get is when should you apply for the MBA? I always advise students to apply as early as possible because you are preparing to make a big move to another part of the world for most of you. So you want time to get your visa and look for housing and do all of those important tasks. The last deadline in November, I've noted with a star. That deadline is only available for our students who would not need a student visa. So are citizens of the EU or someone who maybe has a different residence permit for the Netherlands. Another good question that I have seen pop up in the box is indeed on the financing your MBA side of things. So the MBA is a very big investment in terms of your time, in terms of your financial resources, in terms of commitments that you might have to family or friends and making that big move. So it's really important to think ahead about your financing plan. I'll go through the scholarships in a second, but our tuition for the next intake of January 2027 is 70,000 euros. This is going to include most of the MBA components in terms of the program, the textbooks, the activities. It will include the study trip for everything except your airfare. So if you're doing one of our study trips closer to Rotterdam, the airfare is going to be, of course, lower than one of our study trips in the US or other parts of the world. Loans are a popular avenue for MBA financing. We work with Lendwise, an MBA loan provider, to help international students access funding. And we offer some other per country resources on our website, so you can always check that out too. So scholarships, of course, a big part of the MBA application process and something we always hear questions about. These are our current scholarships that are being offered. I think most of them are fairly self-explanatory. The Force for Positive Change is really on that idea of impact. Women in Business is also open to people who have been champions for women in business. We have some for diversity, some more financial need-based. Dean's Merit, which is about academic and career performance. And then new this year are the Entrepreneurial Impact Award. So the Entrepreneurial Impact Award is really about our students who have their own business or startups. And then new this year as well is the RSM Fellowship, which is an invitation-only scholarship program that will be posted very soon on our website. Scholarship amount-wise, because that is always the next question. Our typical scholarship is around 10% of the tuition fee, so you can think in the range of 7,000 euros. We offer higher awards as well as smaller awards, and it really depends on your profile and your performance during the admissions process. I mentioned before that we do have a scholarship essay for the first time this year as an optional submission you can add. For that, we'll ask you to choose only one of the scholarships that are on the screen and write a brief statement about why you're a good fit for this scholarship. So, for example, the entrepreneurial impact, we'd love to hear about what kind of business you've started and how you're seeing successful growth in that business. All right, I think we have several questions in the questions box. I'll go ahead and take the scholarship ones to start because we've just talked about that. So how many scholarships can an applicant apply for? Great question. You can apply for one of the scholarships. Like I said, we'll ask you to write an essay on just one of the scholarship areas, and you'll only be awarded one scholarship. But all of our scholarships have ranges. So it's not like there's a 5,000 merit scholarship and a 10,000 diversity scholarship. You can get any scholarship in any amount. So at the end of the day, your scholarship amount will just have one scholarship name on it. Another one on the admissions side. Do we have to pay an extra application fee to register for the BAT? You do not. There is a 125 euro application fee for the MBA in general, and that includes the cost of you taking the BAT. All right, I see, Ian, you have answered the question about Dutch in the workforce, which is something very much on our mind. Do you want to talk a bit about how we're integrating more Dutch language into the MBA itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are currently actively working with the Erasmus Language Center, which is one of the institutions that you find here on the larger Erasmus campus, where RSM is situated. And they offer all levels of Dutch language. We are working with them to bring also the Dutch language option as an add-on for our students here within our own academic building. This would be a kind of after hours experience. So it would be after your kind of curriculum. So it would be in the evening. Currently, they offer, independent of RSM, these language components, which we encourage, but it would be nice if we could get also their instructors to our building specifically for our MBA students, because as it currently stands, it's an open registration, and so that's with anyone from the Erasmus environment. One important note here is that it's intensive language, and the price right now is 50 euro for an entire kind of language course, which is as a student an incredible benefit because if you look at the market price for what a general language course is for a certain level of certification, having that covered under a 50 euro price tag is quite incredible.
Thanks so much, Ian. I see a few more questions about the scholarship side of things. So just to clarify, let me go back to that slide here. So technically, there is no formal application process for a scholarship. We do consider all applicants. We have added the essay so that you can share more about which scholarship really aligns with your background and which you really think you'd be a strong fit for. So if you're thinking, I really need a scholarship to finance my studies, and that's going to be an important part of my budget, then I would encourage you to write the essay for one of these scholarship areas. Also on the English proficiency, I think I covered this, but pretty much everyone will need some sort of English proficiency exam, regardless of if your previous education was taught in English or not. And I also see a great question about if you've graduated from an HBO, so that's a University of Applied Sciences. For a pre-master, you do not need to do a pre-master for the MBA program. We accept the HBO bachelor's degree as well. Ian, I think we had a question on study trips. Do you want to go through a bit more what happens during the study trip and maybe
Yeah.
some highlights from our study trips this past year?
Sure, absolutely. So as I mentioned, the study trip, it happens at the end of August, and it's 1 week intensive abroad. Basically, the study trip kind of marries, well, there's a kind of a focus matter, but also you have lectures along with site visits that then support kind of the focus of what the study trip is. So I can give you some examples. Last year, we went to Washington, D.C. The focus there was business and politics. It's kind of at the epicenter currently with everything happening geopolitically. And that's also in partnership with our partner school, Georgetown. So Georgetown then works with RSM. They then co-work with their faculty, our faculty. They co-facilitate then the learning. We also do a couple site visits. So we would go to the IMF and the World Bank, where we meet with the Dutch delegations. It's really nice. It's also very prestigious, especially the IMF. You need a lot of security clearance in order to access that building. So we are in a privileged space there. Reykjavik, the focus is renewable energy and the energy transition. Same for Dubai. That is the focus is energy, renewable energy, and energy transition. We do a study trip in Athens, and that's focused on startups and the startup entrepreneurship environment. Cape Town focuses on leadership and entrepreneurship. London is finance, makes sense. And Tallinn is about digital innovation and IT solutions. So just to give you some examples of those kind of what are the various study trips that are on offer, and also the various focus areas. So that's in short, the study trips really take a certain sector and a focus point, and then gives you both the academic kind of theoretical components, but also the practical kind of site visits, engaging with companies that are within that, let's say, focus point. And then you deliver at the end of that experience a presentation with a group based on the learnings that are acquired and obtained through the components that are programmed for that week.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. And on the international components of the MBA, do you want to talk a bit about the exchange opportunity that our students have?
Yeah, so we are part of the PIM network, which is a very prestigious exchange network. And we do exchanges currently with 33 different partner schools, and that's all throughout the world. So we work with some of the top US schools, of course. This year, we have students that are in Wharton at UC Berkeley, at Chicago Booth, also in two schools in China, PKU, and a school in Shanghai, NUS in Singapore, Melbourne. So it's an additional add-on to your program experience. So this will happen only once you've completed the 12-year course. So our exchange students are all currently doing their exchange programs now as we speak. So that usually is you would factor in an additional 4 to 6 months of the, let's say, program. And again, it's an add-on. It is not something it's independent of the credits that you take and receive within the curriculum here. It's more, hey, this is an added bonus of just being part of the RSM network and that we do these kind of bilateral exchanges with, again, top business schools around the world.
Awesome. And someone was curious about how the study trip fits into the fees. So for the study trip, the mandatory trip that everyone goes on, the
Mhm.
cost for accommodation and many of your meals are included in the
Yes.
tuition. The plane ticket, however, is not. So, like I mentioned earlier, if you're thinking one of our nearby London, Greece study trips, of course, that ticket is going to be more affordable than flying to Washington, D.C. from the Netherlands. We also had another question on the cost part in terms of living costs, and that is something else that you really need to budget for when thinking about your MBA. So on average, we estimate around 1,800 to 2,000 euros a month for your living costs. The biggest variable there being your rent and the housing that you're going for during the MBA. Ian, do you want to talk a bit about the housing aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. So housing within the Netherlands in general is a lot more challenging than a lot of other areas. So that is something that we really work proactively to manage expectations. There are options that we work with. We work with a couple of providers in an informal capacity to kind of see how we can provide housing opportunities to our students. So we have one kind of more formalized agreement where we can house 21 students. That is known as XUR, and that's for a year duration. A lot of the other options offer short-term solutions. So one of the vendors we work with, it's known as Holland to Stay. Quite a lot of our students go through this vendor because it offers an immediate short-term solution specifically for a lot of the demographic we service, which is international students coming to the Netherlands for the first time. Well, the positive of working with Holland to Stay is that it's almost an assured bet that you will get access to a Holland to Stay unit, and it's a quite competitive rate. The challenge is that it's a short-term lease. In other words, it's 6 months, and there is no opportunity for extension. And so housing, the way that we look at it is the more proactive you can be and the more that you know that you're coming to the Netherlands, already start looking now because we recognize that it is a big challenge. We do provide quite a lot of resources and various vendors to work with. Of course, also we have a very vibrant alumni network that also, shares information of like things or listings that are on the market or sublets that become available because people are moving. But yeah, housing is definitely a bigger challenge here within the Netherlands for anyone coming to the Netherlands, period, regardless of whether you're a student or coming for business purposes.
Right. And next to housing, of course, there's a few other monthly living costs to keep in mind. You are required to get health insurance as part of your stay in the Netherlands. It is fairly affordable at around €100 per month, and we do offer a webinar to go through the health insurance options available to you during your stay once you have registered for for your MBA. And then, of course, there's costs like your groceries going out, travel costs, although a lot of our students do get a bike and bike to campus. There is also fantastic public transport throughout Rotterdam and across the Netherlands. Great question again on the fees front in terms of the exchange program. Is there a separate fee? There is not. The cost for the exchange is included in your tuition, so it's a nice way to maximize your MBA investment. You, of course, will need to cover your travel to your exchange destination as well as your accommodation and living expenses while you are there. Ian, a question for you specifically from Omer. How do you see the future of impact investing in the Netherlands, and can we link it with an advisory area?
Yeah, that's a great question, Omar. I mean, I think right now we're kind of in a takeoff phase in terms of, I can talk specifically about what RSM is trying to do with creating more awareness around the ecosystem that exists already here in the Netherlands. Uh, you know, if you do a SWOT analysis of what impact investing is, there's a lot of movement and a lot of support for moving towards more impact investing within the Dutch business landscape. Of course, there's also a counter movement of do we really invest in sustainable solutions or sustainability, generally speaking, given kind of the other market forces, the global reality that we are at different stages of our sustainable goals. And also, if we look at SDG frameworks, where we are. For me personally, I think especially within, so I'm an American originally, right? Coming from the US market and coming from that environment and moving within the Netherlands and also just the European kind of business landscape, sustainability, ESG frameworks are a lot more important in this context. And something that it's actually been very nice for me to realize. Because within the US market, it's very much considered niche if you talk sustainability and sustainability imperatives. Whereas within the Netherlands framework, there's really business cases behind moving more sustainably and talking as well of like, if you invest in sustainability, this is the future. This is the future that we want, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. We need to really invest in the environment because if we don't, we won't have, we won't be here. And I think that the ethos and the value system here in the Netherlands, especially, and also I should say within the younger generation, so like Gen Z onwards, really is propelling us towards more sustainability, impact investing initiatives within this framework. So that's a long-winded answer of saying I really do see that this is moving in the right direction, but it's going to continue to take a lot more support and also the right governance structures to make sure that we're realizing these goals and not doing greenwashing and these kind of things that unfortunately are an inevitable byproduct of the sustainability initiatives surrounded by, impact investing being part of that. And also, should we link with an advisory area? Can you maybe unpack that a bit more? What do you mean by that?
I'll give Omar a second to type. In the meantime, I'm going to put the contact details of myself and our other admissions managers on the screen. Please do feel welcome to reach out to us. I will be sharing this recording over email with these contact details as well. A great starting point for your MBA journey can be a CV assessment, so you can share your CV or your LinkedIn with us and we can take a look and see how your background would line up with the program requirements. And from there, we can always set up a scheduled consultation online or a in-person meeting. And we do welcome campus visitors if you are planning a trip to the Netherlands or want to plan a trip to the Netherlands. All right, we can still give Omar a moment, but you are also welcome to follow up with Ian. He is on LinkedIn as well as email. So when I send out
Yes.
that recording over email, if you want to chat further with Ian, you can always let me know, and I'm happy to put you in contact. He is a tremendous resource to our MBA students, and if you're joining us, you will have the pleasure of working very closely alongside with him and having him shape your student experience, and that is a fantastic thing. I think we have covered just about all the questions. I want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar. It is a pleasure to have such global representation during this hour we spent together, and I really hope to see some of you in Rotterdam one day. As I've mentioned a few times, we are super excited to have further contact with you. We are hosting several other webinars, especially ones with regional focuses throughout the rest of the year. So keep an eye on our social media, on our website for updates. And Ian, thank you for joining me for this session.
Yeah. Thanks everyone so much. Again, I am very happy to connect with you via LinkedIn or otherwise, just to share more of the ins and outs of what the program experience feels like and looks like. And Hannah, thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the program.
Absolutely. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day wherever you are in the world.